And welcome back to Monday Night DJ Chat here on DJ and TV. I'm Jason Jones filling in for John Young, getting the technology ropes down. And we've had such a great night we talked about wedding tips in terms of like ways to be creative with your brides. We've talked about the history of the 80J and where that all came about. And it's just been like, and then of course we talked about the great, if you're not a member of the Showcasing Your Talent Facebook group, you really should be, because that's a really great place to get some information. And now it's Photobooths, one of the greatest add-ons ever made to go with DJ shows. It's really, really fantastic. I am my next guest that you can see on the screen is a full-time DJ and owns a production company for going on like 23 years now. So he's got it down pat. He specializes in school events, corporate functions, and photo activations. And one of the early pioneers, he started the Atlanta photo booth in 2005 when there was no photo booth industry to speak of. It weighed about 16 tons, and he pulled it on his back. He supports and services over 2,600 photo booth customers internationally now. And he's really handsome and humble, I'm told. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Stephen Lynch to the show.
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, Stephen. It's really great to have you here on the show. And tell me, where are you hailing from? Like where is this? Look at this beautiful fireplace in the background, and
That was for your
you're in
benefit.
are you in a cabin in an undisclosed location?
Actually, this is our new house up in Gainesville, Georgia. So we're up in the North Georgia mountains in the foothills up at the base of the Appalachian Trail, basically.
That's awesome. And is that fireplace actually a television?
Yeah, it's a 65-inch fireplace.
that is so cool.
I'm in the process of hanging that one where the old one is. So that's
Oh, baloney! Come on, it's okay. I think it's really cool to have a actual television. Then you can switch it up and have all kinds of different media for your fire. I think it's fantastic. But we're going to talk about photo booths today,
Yes, sir.
and I'm really curious about kind of jumping in. One might have a little bit of trepidation that sometimes there's talk like the market's saturated, or there's so many already, or would this be a good idea? Is it a lot to maintain? So you're going to come and debunk all those mysteries for us, right?
Well, a whole bunch of it. One of the biggest things people ask when they first come up is they're like, I'm not super tech savvy, or I don't know anything about this. How hard is it?
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you that a lot of people who fancy themselves much smarter than a lot of us who do very well with photo booths will tell you it's very difficult, and you need a humongous business plan and a ton of startup capital and stuff like that. When in fact, it's probably one of the least expensive things you could do to add on, as far as technology these days. They're very simple to maintain, and photo booths are relatively low tech, so it makes staffing them even easier. Whereas
Cool.
somebody with a multi-op DJ company, they struggle to find, DJs.
Because you need talent.
Yeah, but as far as doing photo booths, it's as easy as walking around the mall and, finding the proactive girl or the Orange Julius guy. And, if you find someone who's outgoing, who seems to, interact with people very nicely,
Mm-hmm.
and, looks half decent, that's somebody that you can pay probably more than they're making in a weekend to run your photo booth for
Yeah.
4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, attractive helps too.
Yeah, it's nice. But the biggest thing with photo booths is you want to try to get yourself in where you're not spending a gazillion dollars to start up. One of the mistakes a lot of people make are they see these turnkey $15,000 investments to get into doing photo booths. At that point, you really have to charge a ton to get your ROI back in a relatively short manner.
Yeah.
The photo booth industry has been around for a long time. I mean, there used to be the dip and dunk chemical booths.
Mm-hmm.
Those were around $800 to have one dropped off at an event back in the early 2000s even, and they could print one about every 4 or 5 minutes. They were very slow, they were very cumbersome, and digital came along and just made it super cheap to do.
Mm-hmm.
People artificially inflated the price for a while because they didn't know how to price it. It was something new and people would pay it.
Mm-hmm.
the myth of the photo booth industry, going down the tubes now, it's not. It's going back to where it was. It's pretty much normalizing because it's become more of a widespread thing.
Mm-hmm.
For most people, your cost of operation is somewhere in the ballpark of $12 to $15 per event. If you're using a non-proprietary format. So no matter what photo booth you're using, everybody's pretty much using the same hardware and one of two or three major softwares, if not one of the three or four small boutique ones. So, to get in, you're not looking at a massive investment in the grand scheme of things. And to run it, you don't need a 4-year degree. You can run a very simple, straightforward, and attractive photo booth business for under $5,000. And that's the truth. You can add it on to events to build up your clientele. You can get it out to bridal shows. Mm-hmm. You can get it out to schools. You can get it out to a bunch of different places, because the best thing you can do is let people experience the fun of using the photo booth. Because you wouldn't believe, 12 years after the advent of the portable event photo booths, mm-hmm. there are still people at weddings who go, I've never seen this before.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we're exposed to it on a nearly daily basis, mm-hmm. from either ads or Facebook or something like that. So many other people out there, unless they've been to a wedding or an event with a photo booth, still don't even know that it's a thing. So there's a lot of room for it.
These are the same people that don't know how to dance to the YMCA.
Guilty. Kind of. But
that's pretty extraordinary. I'm surprised by so many things that you've said in that statement, right? Like how the barrier, like it's a much lower barrier to entry, and there. So what are some do's and don'ts with the photo booth? Are there any pitfalls to avoid?
One of the biggest things is, and it's DJ oriented as well. Do not take free or nonprofit or charity events and stuff like that to get your name out there, because I have so many customers who call me and they say, oh, I did this thing for yada, yada. And the next thing you know, they're getting calls. They're like, what did I do wrong? And I said, well, the thing you did wrong is you basically showed them, or you told them that your time is worth nothing. So you gave it to them. And that's the first thing half the people out there do is
start giving it away.
Yeah. There are some great things you can do. I'm not a huge lover of Groupon by any means, but this is kind of a big inside secret. What a lot of people will do off the bat is, if you're just entering the photo booth market, you're not established. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows who you are. Groupon can't look you up. Like me, I can't do that in Atlanta because they go, oh, your pricing is this or this. What a lot of people will do right off the bat when they enter is enter at an extraordinarily high price point, do your negotiations with Groupon and everything, and mm-hmm. basically get yourself at the price you want to be at and utilize their massive, million plus in your, market database just to get your name out there. And if you can't handle them, you can't handle them. But the fact of the matter is, you can utilize Groupon as kind of like some free advertising.
Sure. Well, but you still have to be. Groupon's still got to be priced enough so that they think the consumer thinks it's a deal. Otherwise, exactly. You're just going to have a Groupon that doesn't really go anywhere.
Correct. But a lot of people don't want to do a Groupon, really. They don't want the $200 events. So if you can get yourself so you're getting $600 or $700 an event, that's decent. So if you come in and you show on your website that your normal package is $1,500 or $1,800 or something like that, ridiculous. You can do that and get yourself your $700. And it's amazing. I have people that do it and they're getting above average prices through Groupon just by virtue of being out there in front of a gazillion people.
Wow, that's impressive. And then as far as I think I know Groupon works, even though it's 50% off is usually their standard thing. And then you split that 50 with them.
Correct. So in a major market, you can usually negotiate, which I never knew about. And I have people paying as little as 20% to Groupon in areas of like Louisiana or Oklahoma or something like that. In Atlanta, they are vicious and they don't want to hear it. But if you're in a less, heavily populated area, mm-hmm. they're more inclined to kind of to barter with you. So that's just one thing. It's not my only way of advertising, but that's one little nugget that a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah, that's a good idea to look into.
It does work.
Well, and because even the Groupon thing is like it's had its day. There's lots of competitors now. There's lots mm-hmm. of a lot of different angles, a lot of different ways. So that does give you more leverage. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah. And once again, you don't have to take it. You're only one company. You can be booked if you want to be booked.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We're
Emails
going to
me
take a
know.
break and hear from our terrific sponsors, DJ Event Planner, Electro Voice, and Newmark. And when we come back, I'd like to talk about like open air photo booth versus closed box photo booth. Like is one better than the other? Should you run
Sure.
both? What's the whole deal there? We'll get into that. How does that sound, Stephen?
Perfect.
All right, we'll be back. This is I'm Jason Jones filling in for John Young on Monday night DJ and TV DJ Chat, and we'll be back in just a moment.
DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
And welcome back. I'm talking to, Stephen Lynch. And we're talking about photo booths and kind of getting the whole world here. And so when we left the break, one of the things that we were going to talk about was I've seen open air photo booths. I've seen like the booths where you pull the curtain and get inside. And what do you think? Do you have one of each? Use them for different applications? I mean, where do you go with that?
The ones we design especially are made to be, most of them are made to be used either way. And a little shout out to Nick Andrews, one of the other guys that was there in the very beginning. His company name is Open Air. So a lot of people use Open Air. It's much like the Band-Aid concept for adhesive bandages. Great guy, but just throwing that out there. Open Air is a brand name more than a concept. But so a lot of people say open concept.
Wow. Well, then congratulations. He's the Coca-Cola now photo booth.
Yeah, he came up with that name. So I had to put that out there. Basically, it depends on the geographic area you're in. Areas that don't seem to be heavily saturated with photo booths tend to appreciate the more classic style. I find also that, high school reunions, you do the 1968 high school reunion or something like that. They like the photo booth, format that they remember from, the Five and Dime or whatever.
From the carnival or whatever, the mall.
Yeah, the classic photo booth thing. And then in other areas, I find, especially like the tri-state area, everything is bigger, brighter, flashier, and there's a lot more going on. I find that the open concept stuff seems to really work well up there because people are so heavily into props and other things, and it just makes it a much easier workflow. Mm-hmm. There's some people that have the mentality that it generates more, more excitement when everybody else can see you. I personally think a lot of times you get better candids and more debauchery going on in the photo booth, when people are hidden.
Right. When they're not being looked at. Sure.
Yeah, but it's, it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen the other. You get a whole lot of them. We're in the South, and I find that weddings tend to be a little more conservative than where I grew up, for example. I'm from Rhode Island originally, and I'm used to the knockdown, drag out 6-hour weddings. Down here, a lot of them tend to be 4 o'clock in the afternoon, finger food, no alcohol, in and out, type of weddings. And people don't want props a lot of times. They don't want, they want it to be nice and conservative. So it really depends on where you are. And one thing I find is when I do bridal shows, I don't automatically force one of them on them or the other, nor do I force props, because it's amazing how many times somebody will walk around a bridal show, come around to me and go, "Oh, thank God you don't use props." All they have to do is ask the person not to bring them, but it's such a simple thing. So when I'm discussing it with them, I will add that in and say we can offer props or we can offer a scrapbook, but I don't normally do it right off the bat because it's amazing how much of a turnoff that is. So many times I hear, at bridal shows, that guy's booth looks like a flea market over there because he's got so much stuff spread out. That's one of the biggest things I tell people is presentation, presentation, presentation. It doesn't matter if you built your photo booth in your garage or you paid top dollar for the hottest new one out there.
Mm-hmm.
Be clean and make everything look really nice. You don't want to be the sore thumb in the wedding. You don't want to look like the bazaar over there with the, hundreds of hat racks and props strewn everywhere and feathers flying in the air and, so.
Yeah, most weddings are elegant affairs, and it's like you don't want to have a completely different kind of party look like it's going on in the corner. You want to be able to fit in, even if you are using props. You want to be able to fit in like you look like you belong there. That's a good rule of thumb.
Mm-hmm.
A really good rule of thumb. So it's terrific. So this is really, what's really interesting is the photo booths that you have and you sell, you've actually fabricated your own photo booth. You just didn't go like, I'm going to go buy what's out there. You actually said, I want to create my own. You're one of those guys. I gotta make it my way.
Well, when I first saw them, there were only a couple of really large vending style companies available. And the 1 year at Mobile Beat, one small company came and debuted it, and several of my friends purchased them. And all I was hearing about is how much trouble they were having with what they purchased. So I started going online and I hooked up with a very small group of people that were on the alpha program for the original Breeze software, which was one of the early photo booth softwares that people were using.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of all figured out how to make our own. And I had no intentions of selling them originally. And I helped several people online build their own photo booths. I'd solder people buttons and I'd make wire harnesses and mail them to them and stuff. And we started seeing that things that we were designing were being sold online, resold.
Oh, wow.
And, so my wife actually said, you're going to Mobile Beat with your own photo booth. And I said, I don't want to do it. So I went and I stood at Mobile Beat, completely oblivious to, what was going on around me because I'd never done a trade show before.
Uh-huh.
And, I sold, 6 or 7 of them. And then the next year I sold 40 of them.
Wow, exciting.
It just kept going and going. So while I do events still, I pretty much do school and corporate because it's not fair to my other clients I have so many people to support and so many photo booths to build and everything. It's become a whole fabrication racket now. I mean, we do our own powder coating in-house. We do welding in-house. We do vacuum forming in-house, CNC cutting in-house, laser cutting, and on and on.
Did you ever imagine you'd become a manufacturer?
I hoped. I really, really hoped.
Yeah, late in bed at night. Could I please be a manufacturer?
Well, I build everything now. I spent 3 years in Monterrey, Mexico as an industrial engineer working in a manufacturing
facility.
Maybe
you did have a fantasy to be a manufacturer then.
So I walked around. I had nothing to do down there. My company ran really well. So I just basically walked around and watched how they made everything. And I said, I could do that if I only had that machine or if I only had that machine. So I came home and I started looking for stuff and started buying machines and that's it.
Wow.
So,
that's really awesome. So what other, do you have other things that you've built, invented, fabricated, created?
Yeah, we've done the original glowy facades, for example. We made the glowy facades probably 12, 13 years ago. If anybody that was on the PCDJ forums way back then saw some of the kind of forward-thinking things we came out with, but I never marketed. It wasn't what I wanted to make, and they took off, and I was completely lost in the dust on that. Could never catch up on those. But I've made the video DJ booths I started making several years back.
Cool.
And everybody said I was an idiot because they're going to break the TVs, and now there's 12 people selling them. And, I have the ability to build it in my house. So, I'll run out to the shop and I'll fire something up and build it and I'll get critiqued, all to hell. And then I'll, sit back and eventually somebody else will run with it. And that's fine by me. I just like creating. And I'm really big on sharing. Anybody who knows me knows I'm not one of those guys that keeps everything right here. I like to share because it's fun to see what other people do with things. Yeah. I don't have the only ideas out there. There's a lot of other people that improve and elaborate. And I love that part of it.
Oh, it's so awesome. I love your creativity and, like the following your urge and then just going out and inventing it and creating it, I think too often we get an idea that we get excited about and then we go around trying to find the one person that's going to squash it. So we can go, oh yeah, that was a terrible idea. I shouldn't do that, right? Instead of just going like, yeah, you could share your idea, be excited about it if that keeps you more amped up, but keep running with it. Actually take it far enough to see if it becomes something rather than waiting to get an opinion. Like how many people were asking Apple to make the iPhone? Nobody. I mean, they were like they got an idea and they put it together and things that they thought that people would like, and I really admire that quality in you. I really think that's really awesome.
Thank you. That's what I do. I can't throw a football, but I can design stuff in CAD and whatever. So that's my little gift, I guess. But it's wonderful to do that, and I probably have a museum worth of stuff that never was. The Frankenstein stuff that I started building and realized that I should have measured 12 times instead of once and cut. And I got to a point where I couldn't go any further with it, so I throw it to the side. I have a few friends in Atlanta that are the benefactors, or I'm their benefactor with a third hand stuff all the time. I'm like, hey, you guys want a DJ booth? You want this? You want that?
Right. This didn't quite work out. And they're like, wow, fun. This is really cool. You're just throwing this away?
It's exciting. Maybe Photobooth software might be a great thing to touch on. A lot of people asked about different softwares prior to this. And I said I would talk about a couple of different ones. It used to be back in the day that it was Photobooth and Breeze were the two big ones. Breeze was the originator, and Photobooth actually ran using Breeze as a basis for it at one point. Lots of people still use those. Darkroom Software, which is a very old company actually. They're the software that is used at pretty much every Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, school baseball team, and stuff like that. They dummied down their big photographer package for Photobooth users a couple of years ago. And their growth curve has just been exponential because they basically, I always tell people they iPhoned it. A 3-year-old can pick up an iPhone and they're figuring out how to do stuff within 3 or 4 minutes. It's kind of how Darkroom was. It demystified all the pixel moving and all the graphic editing. And
cool.
Stuff like that. So that's what we've settled on, as well as many other companies, because it's so easy. They've got such great support. And they're tied in with another company, Imaging Spectrum, who's the company a lot of people get their media from and stuff. So it's kind of a great package. So, our Photobooths will run on Breeze, on Photobooth, on pretty much anything, as will most other people's, unless they're on a proprietary format. So there's several Photobooth softwares out there. The one that I'm personally attached to now is Darkroom. I love it to death, and you can download a fully functional copy and check it out. But if you're even thinking about getting into Photobooths, download them and check them out. Look at the different softwares and don't be swayed. One might be $75, one might be $299. I can tell you that for the most part, the best software is going to be right in that sweet spot around $299. There's some out there that are very small user base, very slow development, and they're really, really expensive software. And then there's some $25 software that really don't belong out in the field at a professional event, So just download demos and do your homework and check them out and ask other people. And you'll be surprised. You'll see what others around you are using.
Steve, this is such great stuff, great advice. How can, but we've got to wrap up here. How can people get a hold of you to learn more about your fantastic photo booths and about the business?
Anybody who knows me knows I am not a web designer, nor am I a marketer for the most part, but AtlantaPhotobooth.com is our website, and my cell phone is glued to my buns pretty much 24 hours a day. I do get an excessive amount of phone calls and texts during the day, so I do ask people to be patient sometimes. There's just some days when I can't get to every text, or I'd never be able to get any work done.
Right.
Everything aggregates through my cell phone. So if anybody wants to reach me, my cell phone is online in a million different places, including right on the front page of AtlantaPhotobooth.com. It's not an office number. It's my number. Call me. Just be respectful with the hour, but I'm usually up late. So that's when I love to talk to people.
Great. Stephen, what a pleasure it has been to have you on the show and hear about all the things you've created and learning a lot of great stuff about the photo booth industry. And it's not as scary as one might think.
It's really not. Jump in. It's a great add-on. You will not regret it.
It's a really great opportunity, and you too can have a fireplace TV just like Steve in the background. Thanks a lot, Steve. Have yourself a great night. That wraps it for this edition of DJ and TV Live DJ DJ Chat. Coming up next, we've got the writers and performers of DJ and TV. We come on with MJ and Dan, and we'll see if Shani will join us. And we're going to get together and we're going to talk about apps. It's actually a good segue. Apps, DJ apps, lighting apps, apps. And that's all coming up next. So we hope you join us. Have a great night, Steve.
Good night.